This is a CBS News special report. I'm Norah O'Donnell in New York. Wall Street has just opened for business and stocks are plunging again. The Dow Jones Industrial Average began the day with a 900-point loss. That is after falling more than 500 points on Friday. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 are also sharply down this morning. It follows more heavy losses in Asian and European markets. Our senior business and economics correspondent Anthony Mason is here. So, Anthony, first, why is this happening?
This all goes back to China, Nora. I mean, there's been continuing unease now for about a week since the Chinese devalued their currency. The Chinese markets have been down 30% since they hit their peak in April. The real worry here is how weak is the Chinese economy, and what's that going to do to the global economy? Because China has been such an engine for growth around the world, exports particularly. So if China is weaker than we thought, that may mean the global economy is in some trouble.
Well, was it time for a correction anyway in our own markets?
That's the other thing here is the U.S. markets had been on a bull market now for 6 years, and we hadn't had a correction. So in many respects, we were due for one. This may be this has been the catalyst for that, and we're down, as you see, we're down about 5% already this morning. And if we get down 7%, the market will be halted for 15 minutes in trading to give it a chance to kind of collect itself. The real question here is how deep is this unease and how long will this go on? And that's not clear at all yet.
Are we at a state of panic yet?
Well, you can argue that with what we lost on Friday and where we are today, this maybe his question is, are people throwing out the baby with the bathwater? And when will you start to see people saying their real values here? The U.S. economy, the fundamentals are still felt to be, very strong. Mm-hmm. But the real question here is, because China has been, as I say, such an engine for growth around the world, is that going to affect our economy at some point? And it's certainly affecting our stock market.
And this is about China's growth. This is not necessarily about the devaluation of their dollar over there.
The question is China, which has been growing so strongly over the past decade, is that suddenly easing, and how much? We've seen, great unease in their stock market. The Chinese have scrambled to try to prop it up, but they haven't been able to do that. And that's raised alarm bells around the world and in the markets.
So the question most people have at home who are not day traders or investing, what do you do? What does it mean for you?
What do you do? We should point out now the Dow is now down more than 1,000 points. Again, wow. As you see, the markets are down 6.5%. If it hits 7%, trading will be suspended for 15 minutes. There is a subsequent level. If it goes down even more than that, it will hit a further suspension. But we're very close right now to a potential suspension of 15 minutes of trading in the Dow. The question here is, what do you do? I think you'd be really very careful about selling into this at this point, because this is we've had 2 days really now. You can argue that this is in effect, the panic level that you get, and in any correction, you usually wait to see a panic when the selling is almost becomes irrational. People just want to get out. There are people who have to get out. And that's when usually things go a little too far, and then the market starts to bounce back.
Long term, we were talking about potential raise in interest rates in September. Do you think the Fed now takes another look at that? That's
the real question here that Janet Yellen has got to be wrestling with now, because this was not something she counted on as the Fed sort of started setting the stage to raise interest rates at the end of the year. There were questions about, I think the betting has been it was going to be next month. Some people thought it might be a little later in the year, but Janet Yellen has now got to be sitting back, and the Fed's got to be saying, wait a second here, what is this telling us? The other issue here are oil prices, which have now fallen, but they fell below $40 for the first time in 6 years. That's very good for consumers because it means gas prices will be cheaper, but it also means, it could be a signal that the global economy is slowing down. And if the global economy is slowing down, that will mean growth here slows as well. So there are two sides to the oil price story as well.
Well, I was driving a lot this weekend, filled up, and noticed how cheap the gas prices are. Much cheaper to fill up your tank, indeed. Looks like there's been some pullback a little bit that we may not hit
at this level, yes. We're still down about 5.5%. And which, 800 points, almost 900 points, a huge number.
All right, Anthony Mason, thank you so much. And for those of you in the West, we're going to have complete coverage of the markets at 7 on CBS this morning. And our coverage will continue throughout the day on our 24-hour digital network, CBSN. We will have a full wrap-up tonight when I see you on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Norah O'Donnell with Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
For news 24 hours a day, go to CBSNews.com.